be interpreted.
This meeting is being recorded.
You know, if it just says solid waste, one could interpret it as landfill. But I think that it specifically says resource management and recycling. It really is clear that this includes the reduce, reuse, repurpose. Also, recycle, whatever. Those are four R's and it should be 3 R's. I don't know, there's one extra R there, but you know what I mean. It includes all of the things in the what will eventually make a waste stream. So I think it's just important that we recognize that this is now the county council telling the Department of Environment, we are supposed to be doing these things to help the county, DOE, whatever you call it. So
I agree with you, Barbara. It's more of a mouthful than just SWAC, but I think you're right. I think it's good that it's there's a better description as to just what we are or should be.
Cool. Can we put that in the chat so I can copy and put it in my
it was mailed to you yesterday, the whole legislation.
Okay, cool. I'll receive it in the mail and I'll update my.
You received it yesterday. If you didn't, let me know, because it was with the invitation to, or with the reminder for tonight's meeting. It had,
Actually, the document's incomplete.
oh, it is?
Yeah. Ms. Dawkins, sometimes you really have to scroll down to see the PDF, the way they send it. So, when you go to your image, just scroll down, you'll see it at the bottom on the PDF.
An email.
It's not the complete, but the originating one isn't complete in that one. You have to go back to the one that Kevin sent out earlier. That's the complete one.
I'm sorry if I
Okay.
screwed up on that. I apologize.
Okay, cool. I see it. There's a bill. Okay, this is the bill. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Sorry about that. What did I do wrong? Sorry, my email was screwed up and I was using a workaround email that's absolutely horrible. And
It's just
attaching attachments to it was a nightmare. So I can see how it got screwed up. I apologize.
that one just has page 1, but the one that Kevin sent out is a complete document, just so you guys know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you remind us the day he sent it out? Oh, let's see, I guess I had it in. Oh, actually, can somebody who has the complete thing just send it out to everybody, please? Both the original and the. And we should read it over more, not take time right now at this meeting because we're already so late, but we should read it over before the next month and see if there's anything that is really relevant that we need to know about.
However, it's pretty relevant. I mean, it basically, I think this is pretty important. It basically sets out what we're supposed to be doing. And I guess I would make the case that this is what we're asked to do is not really develop programs. It is really to have some process of guidance and oversight and input into what's happening with the county on these issues. So, and that's pretty much what it sets out including the budget. So, I thought people were going to read this for this meeting.
But I thought, that's what we had. That was the original guidance also. What I was talking about the changes.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, the changes is just the changes really are just a number.
Okay, because I thought there were more than that, but okay. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It's certainly very important that we are to give guidance on all of these things that we are mandated to do. And so I think that's important in discussing with Director Crooms that we wanna give guidance. They
Well,
have come to us.
Yeah.
I think I really think the commission's role, it's very clear what the role is. And it's not a program role, it's an oversight role.
Absolutely.
And an input role. And so I think it's up to us as a commission to begin to figure out a work process to really do the work to figure out how to give appropriate input and to collect input from other people, residents and other entities in the county.
Yeah, you're right, Ms. Meyer. We should definitely collaborate with the other community associations, organizations, and environmental ones as well, so that we can be more cohesive, because it's a network and community bridging, because we can't affect change unless we get to the root and talk to the people. Like, for example, we could do Sierra Club, we could do, Friends of the Earth. They have events all around. There's plenty of people we could connect with, and Miss Barbara and I, Mr. David, etc. We're on different organizations. We're in them, so we could definitely connect in that way. And I implore everyone else to do that as well. Reach out to your social connections and networks, and invite them to any events, or have them come and check out our meetings. These links right here, this open public recorded meeting, so that they can be in on this, so that they can be aware. That'd be great.
Kevin, can you tell me when I'm looking madly trying to find when you sent that out. Nobody else has sent it yet. Where can I get, can somebody give me the reference, or can somebody send again the current bill? I can't find it right now.
Hold on.
Kevin sent it out. So
Right,
Kevin,
when? I
Kevin,
have thousands of emails.
can you?
Yeah, I resent it. I sent it.
Send it out
to-
August 16th at 6 p.m.
Thank you very much. August 16th.
Oh, excuse me. No, it was
Don't have anything.
Thursday, August 4th at 3:11 p.m.
Okay,
The 16th was the
August.
date of the meeting. Yeah,
yeah, okay, because I didn't have anything then. Okay.
yeah.
August 4th.
At 3:11.
Got it. Okay, fantastic. Would anybody else like it? I now have it. Would anybody else like it sent out to them? Or does everybody have it?
I got it.
Thank you, though.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's see, what do they say about it? It really says very little, though. Nancy, why don't you take the lead on saying what you think our role is and how this says it?
My glasses on here.
I'm not really seeing. In the original act, it was made way clearer. I don't really see it in the.
No, what you need to look at is the original document, the originating enabling legislative document, which is from 2004, page 2.
Right, okay, but it's not in the 2015 act.
No, it's not in there.
Oh, okay.
So it seems to me very clear. It does specify the powers and duties of the commission. There it is.
The
Right.
Prince George's County Solid Waste Advisory Commission is established to provide community input, guidance, and advice to the county executive and county council.
Yep.
On matters relating to solid waste management within the county. So not to DOE.
Right.
It's only to the county exec and county council. That's bizarre.
No, it's not.
Kind of is. I mean, because if we're just talking to the council, they don't speak environmental. DOE does. So it's like DOE's they're a great liaison and or partner to talk to the council. I like DOE, even though it's not official in the guidance in the paperwork here. But yeah, I mean, we shouldn't kick DOE to the curb.
Barbara, I would suggest that the DOE role is they're the kind of proxy for the operationalization of what the county council legislative sets out for the county to do. So this,
That's a great way of saying it.
so I would say, you know, of course, DOE is involved, but it also allows us to interact at a higher level, you know, at the policy, at the larger policy level and advocacy level, frankly.
Yeah, okay, so that is an excellent approach to this, Nancy. Brilliant. Okay,
But it also begs us, in effect, to really understand then what the big picture is. So I think that that's where it becomes, you know, an impact for us to understand what is the 10-year plan. A lot of the plans that, you know, that Andrea and Marilyn are working on is to understand, you know, where they're going with those things. I will say that I feel very excited, both personally and professionally, about the direction of the team now. I feel like there's a real strong continuing commitment to make stuff happen in the county. So it's a good time, I think, to be doing what we're doing.
Barbara, may I say something?
please.
Yeah, so in relation to what Nancy has said about the 10-year plan, so just to inform you that the county's 10-year plan is up for update early next year. So we will certainly discuss with you, seek your comments and recommendations when we draft the 10-year plan early next year. And this year we will be providing a progress report to MDE to explain what we have accomplished vis-a-vis what's indicated in the 10-year plan. So we will also take that opportunity to present to you the progress report for your recommendations and suggestions.
That would be great. So this,
So-
with this progress report, that would be that we could make suggestions before you have
Well,
drafted the next.
yeah, no, I need to interject here. The progress report is what we as an agency, any changes that have taken effect basically between the last adoption of the 10-year solid waste plan, and you know, from that date to the date the progress report is due, and then a year after that our next 10-year solid waste update is due, because the plan, even though it's a 10-year plan, it's updated every 3 years. So really you would have no input as a committee into that, because we're the agency that knows what progress or what changes have occurred that needs to appropriately be put in that progress report. Now we can, I mean, certainly we can share it with you, but I don't see where really you would have any you know, input as far as what we are required to put into that report.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't appreciate that this was just a progress report on past things, and certainly we're
Yeah,
not.
so,
we're
yeah,
not
so,
trying to take
yeah,
over
so, yeah,
that.
no, it's fine. But certainly under the development of the update of the 10-year solid waste plan, that's actually a much greater opportunity. In fact, before it goes to county council and or to the Maryland Department of the Environment, there is a public comment period. And so we strongly encourage review and input during that period of time before the plan is actually finalized by the agency and by the county executive's office, and that happens before it goes to county council. And then there's an additional public hearing when the county council reviews it for adoption. So there's a great opportunity for public input, and certainly for this committee.
Okay, so the SWAC would have no input on the document before the draft is released to the public. Or
You
could the
would,
SWAC-
when we have the draft ready for the public input, that's when you would receive it to review and provide, any, potential input you have into the plan.
Marilyn, what guided the preparation of that plan?
State document.
What guides the preparation of it?
Yeah, like how was it determined what was going to go into it? What was the thinking behind it? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, okay, so the state of Maryland under Comar law, they have outlined specific information that has to be in a county's 10-year solid waste plan, and every
Okay.
county has to have a plan. And the purpose of the plan is to they want to ensure that the counties can appropriately manage its waste. Not only that, but they, obviously they want to know how is the waste being managed. But beyond that, there's also other provisions where we have to meet, like any mandatory laws that the state passes, like for instance, with respect to recycling or composting or multifamily inspections for recycling. There's a whole there's quite a few mandates that we have to demonstrate as a county that we're either meeting or exceeding. And we also, within the plan, we spell out the county's county code and any laws or mandates that the county has passed and how we are addressing, meeting those types of requirements. So I hope that's helpful.
That's that's very helpful. So let me just clarify, because I missed a word you said. So the sort of parameters for the 10-year plan, that's determined through the Department of Environment regulations? Okay.
Yeah, yes, that's a state requirement mandated on each county in the state of Maryland.
And that's actually set forth through the Department of Environment, or is there other sort of legislation that sets that?
Correct.
Maybe it's yeah.
No, that's correct. It's the Maryland Department of the Environment, or, the acronym we refer to as MDE.
Yes.
And that's in COMAR, COMAR, which is the
Right.
the ordinances of the state of Maryland.
Right. Okay.
And so like the 10-year solid waste plan, for instance, would be under, a certain section, for, waste management, for instance.
But for
Right.
instance, Marilyn, I remember 10 years ago, the initial draft had PG joining with Frederick on incineration. And that was a big push of Sierra Group, et cetera, to get the incineration removed from the 10-year plan. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into the plan that isn't just what the state mandates,
Well,
but it's what the county
No,
wants to do for the next 10 years. And
Yes,
that's
so-
where I think we would love to have some input. We're not trying
Yes,
to violate
so-
the state, but it's
Yeah.
things like if there's something equivalent of the incineration that we would like, that would want to go. "Ugh,"
right. So the plan, even though it's a 10-year plan, it has to be updated every 3 years. So there might be an iteration, for example, of a 10-year solid waste plan that may have included, for instance, during that period that perhaps, the county was considering, various options.
I
for
think it was the
manage-
10-year plan 10 years ago.
No.
It was planned for the next 10 years.
Right, but it gets updated. It's
Right.
updated every 3 years. So that could have been in that could have been in the 10-year solid waste plan 10 years ago, and 3 years later, it could have been taken out because it gets updated every 3 years. If the
No,
county,
I tell you, as I remember, it was in the draft for the 10-year plan 10 years ago.
Mhm,
And with a lot of citizen input, it
mhm,
got removed, and we got Lee Flick on this too.
mhm. Yeah,
And the incineration got removed from the 10-year plan 10 years ago. It was nothing for 3-year updates.
yes, and that,
So
that-
that's what I'm trying to say. I
right,
guess
that,
we would love to see as early as possible the
Mhm.
draft of the 10-year plan, that maybe even we could make some input or a pre-draft of it,
mhm.
that we could maybe make some input before it even gets to the public for input.
Yeah, and
It could be an initial filter or a prior filter,
yep,
pre-filter.
and we'll get it to you as soon as possible. Understood. And that public input is very important. And that's exactly what the public comment period, and then also the public hearing. So the comment period is when people can send in to the county their comments in writing for review and consideration. And then the public hearing is the second piece of it that comes a little bit later, where the public can actually come and attend the actual hearing and make public statements, like a verbal statement for the record. So it's a pretty, especially the public comment period. It's I'm gonna call it a fairly robust period of time that we have. And again, we have to, of course, meet the state's mandates on that, and we always do. But as soon as we have it ready, I don't have any issue with providing it to SWAC prior to the release date of the public for comment period. But I will have to get back with you, because I just have to make sure that I'm not breaking any policies or.
Cool. Or, if the SWAC could, that's great. And if the SWAC could even be included in any discussions about changes from the 10-year ago one to the next 10-year, or what it's going to be, sort of the
Yeah.
earliest we could possibly be included, or at least allowed to listen to some of your meetings on it, even if not speak up at those. Maybe that you don't want those interrupted.
Yeah,
That we listen to some
and
and then give verbal or give a written comments.
Yeah, and I would, because, thank you. I don't know if that was Nancy who pulled this document up. But thank you, for pulling this up, because, you see on that second, I'm going to call it a bullet, A1, one of the top things, or the top thing, is the 10-year solid waste management plan. Now, I will tell you, it's a big document with a lot of information. I would say the two most important chapters to pay attention to, I know one of them's 5, that's the planning chapter. Kevin, what's the chapter that already goes through everything that we're currently doing? Is it chapter 2 or chapter 3? I can't remember.
I think it's chapter 3.
3. So one of the chapters is what we, the county, what we're already doing. We think that's chapter 3. If it's not 3, it's 2. Chapter 5 is very important. And so they're the 2 chapters you will want to really invest your time in, because chapter 5 is the planning. That's the plans of what the county plans to do moving forward. And that would list any changes. Now, there's a little bit of confusion in here because chapter 5 does include some information on our office building recycling program and our multifamily program and the Prince George's County School Program. They are not, they're already implemented, but the state MDE has required us to still include that in chapter 5. So I just wanted just to give you that caveat there. But yes, so Kevin, that, yeah, the plan of action, that is really what you want to focus on. So what you can do is if there's anything that you know, it's always nice to know what you agree to, but like, I guess more importantly, maybe, if there's anything, let's say, omitted that you would like to see the county do, it would go in here. Or if there's any changes in anything, chapter 5 is really the most important chapter, in our opinion, that's going to county council for adoption and to the state for approval, because that says what we're going to be doing moving forward for the next 10 years. But remember, it could all change 3 years later because it gets updated every 3
Sure.
years.
Of course.
Now,
Can
Kevin-
you guys send out, I know you have already, but just that everybody doesn't need to look through their thousands of emails. Can you guys please send out the 10-year plan? Or 9-year ago 10-year
The
plan?
last one.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure, sure.
I believe some of us have it. It says 20 comprehensive 10-year solid waste management plan 2020 through 2029. Isn't that the most recent one?
That's correct. Yes.
yeah, but
Yes.
we can,
We-
what Barbara's
some of-
asked, yeah, we can
Some of us
send
has the
all
hard
versions.
copy and the soft and the hard copy, soft and hard copy of it.
Marilyn, the waste characteristics study that's currently being worked on, will that be released in time to be reflecting in your chapter 5 for the next version of the 10-year solid waste plan? Any changes that might be necessitated by your examination of what you're getting in the landfill now that you might not have thought you would be getting based on your previous plan for?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, it will be completed. Because we do a seasonal sort, and it will be completed, and we will have the full report, which will be publicized on our county's website. And we will have that data as we're going through and updating our 10-year solid waste plan.
Right.
And I will tell you though, preliminarily, because we've already had 3 of the 4 completed, and they're working on the 4th and final sort, I think, next week. The numbers, they put a percentage to each type of material as they literally are going piece by piece, every piece of garbage. So God bless those people, because it's really, really, really been super hot outside in the smelly trash. But anyway, the numbers do not look very much different from the sort we did. I think the last one was in 2015, which, one could, a couple of the numbers kind of surprised me that there wasn't a real big change. But the data very much mirrors the data from 2015.
so the implication is people are not recycling better?
Yeah, like for instance, we call it corrugated cardboard, or OCC for old corrugated cardboard, which is simply like cardboard boxes. I mean, that is really the single most valuable material as far as our recycling facility goes, because while aluminum, you know, is valuable, we just don't get a lot. There's not a lot of like aluminum cans in the market anymore, like, you know, because I guess plastic sodas, for instance, have replaced a lot of the aluminum cans. So what we do get is a lot of cardboard. We know there's just so much cardboard out in our environment because especially with all the, you know, packaging and shipping nowadays with online shopping. And we do know the pandemic certainly, you know, those percentages have went up. So what is mind-boggling though, is that there's still so much that comes into the landfill, and it's across all sectors. It's commercial, it's residential, you know, it's the schools, it's, you know, we're still getting cardboard from everywhere, and it's 100% divertible. So what, I'm just going to give you an example, just something to ponder. You know, SWAC might, you know, we've done outreach. We're going to be doing a lot of outreach this year because we got a budget like we've never had before. But let's say through all of our measures of outreach and education, you know, people are still discarding cardboard as trash. So one thing SWAC might want to recommend is, since the percentages haven't changed from 2015 to present, and, you know, we've done so much education and outreach, and everybody on planet Earth must know by now that cardboard is recyclable. Since there's no change, maybe that, you know, might be a recommendation that the county consider banning cardboard from being placed in the trash. I mean, it's just stuff like that, you know, information you can glean from both the waste sort study, a lot of information actually. Now, like for instance, with the food scraps, so there's a percentage of, you know, how much food is still being landfilled, and we know it's a large percentage of the waste stream, and that is something that was drafted in our plan when the county council in CB 87 2012 mandated that the agency pilot food scrap composting, and they gave us you know, measures, dates and things that we had to meet to be in compliance with the county code. And we've met all of those, and we've actually went over and beyond that, because, you know, that pretty much guided us and developed us into being able to do, you know, curbside collections residentially to the participants who receive trash collection by the county forces. So it's stuff like that. I hope that was helpful, just those examples I just gave to you.
Yes.
But there's many, many examples. So I think looking at the 10-year solid waste plan now, before even, you know, at any time, is a really great place to start. Kevin, can you just bring it back up so I can see what that other chapter is? I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, and that's going to really bug me. So the other chapter that's real important is
So Marilyn, before we change subjects, may I go back to a question on what you were talking about here, with when you were saying that the amount of cardboard in the waste stream hasn't changed since 2015. But we've also said that the total amount of cardboard being disposed of by people, because more people are buying at Costco, which uses cardboard boxes, more people are buying from Amazon, which uses cardboard boxes, has very increased. How much has the cardboard increased in the recycling?
yeah. So remember,
you know, even if the percentage in the waste stream hasn't increased, it might be that the percentage of cardboard that is being recycled has increased dramatically.
Right. So now just keep in mind that, you know, for the waste sort at the landfill, so it's percentages of, you know, the total quantity, what percentage is cardboard, what percentage is food, what percentage is plastic, you know, risen number 1, risen number 2, so forth. So we did receive a grant for a one-time sort to be conducted at the MRF, at the materials recycling facility. Now, the folks doing that gave us the grant to have this sort performed, they're mostly interested in gleaning information about the percentages and types of contaminants coming into the recycling program. We're in very, very early meetings with them. I'm hoping, and I can't say tonight because I don't know, and I don't want to, say something that I don't know, but we're hoping what we'll also get out of this sort will be, actually, we already have the percentages of like the cardboard and the metal and glass that come in. But we ourselves can then take those numbers and compare it and do a comparison to the landfill numbers, if that makes sense. And we can also compare it to the total tonnage from previous years to see if, for instance, if residents are recycling more cardboard at the curb or not.
Barbara,
Because
I don't know if that helped.
I would think unless you know that, it seems self-defeating to be discouraged that the amount of cardboard in the trash hasn't, or the percentage of cardboard in the trash hasn't decreased, because that isn't necessarily an informative piece of information or piece of data. It's what fraction of the cardboard is being recycled versus trashed. And if it hasn't increased in the landfill, it's probably increased dramatically in the recycling.
Yeah, but it is important to know, because if we're still seeing of 100% of the material coming into the landfill, if let's just call it the broader category is compostables, which includes both cardboard and food scraps, for instance, and paper. In 2015, the percentage of compostables being landfilled was at 24%. And then, here in 2021 and 2022, during this sort, we're still seeing an overall 24% of the total waste being landfilled is still compostables. We haven't moved that needle.
Right.
It should be going down.
Well, but the county is not collecting food scraps from most of the county yet.
Barbara,
Right. I'm just giving an example. Yeah.
Barbara,
Yes.
this is Dave Brosh. I've had my hand up for over 20 minutes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I'm wondering if
Apologize.
are we stopping at 7 o'clock? Because I think I can think of at least 3 or 4 or 5 other issues we should be talking about. Can we go longer than 7, or is that when we're ending tonight?
Fine with me to go longer.
Yeah. I have until 7:15.
Okay, because we need to talk about community forklift.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple other things too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why don't we, to end this part, ask that if you guys, Marilyn, Kevin, can send us out the 10-year solid waste plan, anything you have for planning for the next 10-year solid waste, or the upcoming 10-year solid waste, and anything on the trash sorts.
We don't have the trash sort data yet.
Or the last one, the 2000.
Oh yeah, the 2015. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kevin, that's on our website, so you can grab that link easily.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, why don't you, since I feel bad I missed your hand, why don't you go ahead now and direct how we should use the next 15 minutes?
Yeah, okay. I will try to be brief, but I think there are a couple of important things which I think we should discuss, if not at this meeting, maybe at the next meeting, or maybe amongst ourselves between now and the next meeting. I think community forklift is very important, and I hope we can discuss that for at least a few minutes tonight, because it's an important part of our community, and there's a possibility, as Nancy could probably tell us, that they might go away depending on what happens with their facility and the fact that there's a issue about ownership and maybe loss of the ability to lease that space. But I'm not going to go into that because Nancy's the expert there. I want to ask, this is kind of a segue, or what Marilyn was talking about is kind of a segue to this, and that's in terms of maybe education and better outreach to the community. I attended this tour that the Sierra Club had at the wharf just a few days ago, and it was really obvious to me. Everybody that was there was probably Sierra Club or people who are really involved in recycling and that sort of thing. And there were so many questions about just how do you do it right? What can you recycle? What can't you recycle? And it's obvious to me that we've kind of failed in terms of getting the message out to people. I understand that it's really difficult, but it seems like we had a very educated group there, and there were just so many questions. And I came out thinking we're failing to do this properly, because even this very well meaningful, educated, and environmentally sensitive group kind of didn't know exactly what should be being recycled and what can't be recycled. And I think it's important that we take that on maybe as one of our roles.
Good, very good point.
The other thing I want to ask very briefly is about, I think a meeting or two ago, we were talking about the community composting facility and a possibility of having a facility, maybe a joint facility with one or two of the other counties. And I'm hoping maybe we'll get an update on that during the next meeting. So I think those are the points I wanted to make tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Yeah, and I think what I would love to see, and maybe we can be part of it, encourage MDE, I don't know who would do it, to really make some more complete list of where you can recycle, compost, whatever, everything. Because even, okay, or Nyla involved, yes. But even at the tour, when people ask Desmond Gladden, he doesn't know a lot of the things either, like which kinds of plastic bags you can take to the grocery stores. Is it just the grocery store bags and the newspaper bags? Is it thicker ones? I mean, that sort of stuff the public needs to be educated on. And if the most knowledgeable county, or probably what seems like should be the most knowledgeable county employee, doesn't know it, you know, I think there are real lapses in the total knowledge of where one can take things. Or Desmond wasn't aware of the Crofton styrofoam recycling, for instance.
No, well, that had to be a complete misunderstanding.
No.
Desmond's completely aware of that. He's been
Okay,
here.
terrific.
Yeah,
Terrific.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But-
We've had meetings with them
okay.
years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. But things like that, you know, I put that in our community newsletter every so often, but I think most people don't know that to put in.
Yeah.
So
And-
I would love to see the county, or maybe DOE working with SWAC and Sierra and some other groups, and maybe Nyla taking a big part in this, but putting together some document that really has most things, we'll never get all, but most things we can think of that are getting trashed, that can be recycled, repurposed, composted, whatever, at various places, including like Giant and Crofton and whatnot. And I think such a document would be really important, and that the county, maybe along with the tax bill, that they stick it in the tax bill and mail such a document out to every member of the county.
Yeah, so Desmond's, I mean, I wasn't there obviously to hear his response, but I mean, his response should have been, because, you know, most of the grocery stores that do have, for instance, the plastic bag recycling containers set up, that they're generally in the entryway of the stores, but some of them are actually inside of the store, not in that breezeway area. Some of them accept all kinds of plastic bags, and then some of them strictly only accept the type of plastic bag that's literally the grocery store bag and not necessarily like that newspaper sleeve type of bag. And that's really, since that's a private sector, program that they're doing, we're not necessarily able to, tell you specifically that the Giant and maybe like Upper Marlboro is, what they're taking and what they're not, because it also could change. But far as I know, most of them that do accept the plastic bags for recycling, they'll accept any kind of plastic bag for recycling. That's just my experience. So
I mean, but that's something maybe that SWAC members could take on, is contacting the area offices of the major supermarket chains, at least, and asking what they take on, and then that this could be in such a document given to the citizens as of September 1st. Here is what the grocery stores do, and of course they can always change. But I mean, and I think there's obviously some cutoff, because there's thicker and thicker and thicker plastic containers, a continuum from the really flimsy Giant bags on up to things that obviously Giant doesn't take for recycling. So what are the cutoffs? And I think somewhere that should be in a county document of where people know, because it's not like you can expect people to contact Giant.
Right.
Safeway.
Because many times, like for example, story time. I had gone to the Giant. This was probably 3 years ago or so, before the pandemic, and I had inquired like about the contamination in the plastic bag recycling bin, which is usually white with green lettering outside the one in Largo. And I did speak to the manager for a bit about it, and I did follow up. I think I tried. But I mean, the contamination ebbs and flows just depending on anyone who does want to inquire about the container, which most may or may not. But I cared because me being me. So sometimes, of course, you can't, like, Ms. Barbara was saying, you can't depend on the chains, or sometimes the grocery stores, they don't even have sometimes paper bags. They don't even have alternatives to your number 2 plastic bags, and sometimes they don't even have reusable bags. Like sometimes if I shop at Giant, every now and again, they don't have well, now they're restocked, but they sometimes don't have the reusable bags for purchase. So I have a ton of reusable bags in my leaf, but for those who maybe they don't want to pay that $1.13 or whatever the price is for a reusable bag, they may just go for the bag of convenience and get that plastic bag, or maybe a paper bag if they feel so eco-friendly.
Yeah. And, related to what Nyla is talking about, the other thing that we should be really involved in, my understanding is, and Martha Ainsworth has been very important in this, in getting judgments from the what's Brian Frosch's office, blanking the name of it.
State Attorney General.
Yeah, the AG. The AG, if Prince George's can impose a fee and or ban plastic bags, and the answer is yes.
We can do it. We can do it.
But we've always been told we can't without getting a General Assembly approval, and they're now saying we can. So I think we should be involved in learning about this and trying to educate the council members to hopefully get through
we can do it. Maryland is I'm proud to say we're one of the most diverse states in the nation, people, and we may or may not be able to affect change and elect a Black governor for the first time in the country's history. If we can do those type of things, we can definitely make sure the plastic bags are banned in the county. That'd be a dream. That'd be an
Right, but up
environmentalist dream.
till now, Nyla, the county has said that it requires General Assembly approval, and they've never gotten the General Assembly approval. We've had a jillion county bag bills die in the General Assembly. So, and this is the point, that you don't need General Assembly approval. This is a big deal.
Depends on the wording.
It does. So we have to learn, we should probably invite Martha to one of these SWAC meetings to educate us and maybe educate
Depends on the
members of the
wording.
OE on this.
Mm.
I think a very, very important thing. Okay, so now looking, until Marilyn leaves with 5 minutes, we've done 2 of the 4 things on the agenda. Let's delay committee formation and spend the final time talking about planning for the meeting with Director Crooms next month. I sent out some topics that to me seemed like we wanted to bring up with her in the footnote on the email inviting everyone to this plan that was had the asterisks on it sent out yesterday evening. Comments, other ideas? What do we want? And I know that when Andrea comes, she always has a lot to tell us. So we obviously don't want to talk the full time, but we would like to not just be talked at and have a conversation with her too. So does anyone have comments?
Barbara, I don't know if we're just trying to get everything in that Marilyn needs to hear about or discuss, but I think we should have an opportunity for Nancy to talk about community forklift before we get off this call tonight.
Oh, okay, absolutely. So why don't we do that rather? We can talk about a meeting with Director Crooms via email then. Okay, Nancy, give us an update. We should also talk with Director Crooms about this issue and how the SWAC can help.
Yeah, I know we just have a couple minutes. So, I mean, if you all have seen, there's been a couple articles, one in the Washington Post, one in that was ran on WAMU. The county folks are doing a story. I don't know when it's going to come out. They're coming tomorrow. NBC News is coming just on the media front. So basically, we've had a long-standing relationship with Washington Gas, and it was the business was purchased. It's a regional energy company, which probably supplies anybody on this call who has gas, probably gets their gas through them. I do. And they were purchased by a multinational energy company in Canada called AltaGas. And so they have decided they want to close our site down. It's not clear why. They won't really share that with us, and they have not shared any plans that they have, although I will say it doesn't appear to be something that really has to do with future planning. It seems like it has more to do with just, I don't know, concerns about the site itself. The site is a brownfield site, but it has been approved by the Maryland Department of Environment for the use that we're using it for. So given that situation, we have started a pretty energetic search for a new site. I will say that I have met with Director Crooms fairly extensively about the problem, and I will already say that she has really committed to help us. So I feel really assured that the department will be as helpful as it can be. And we're talking about, which is, I think, one thing that could come out of this that would be very positive would be really pushing forward some of the agenda on reuse. The 10-year solid waste plan, to my knowledge, really doesn't have a whole lot in it that directs, and Bill, you know this, that directs, the county to do anything substantial with reuse. So we are discussing some other possibilities for scaling up the processes of reuse, which is something that I know that I've been really interested in working on in the county level, but I also talk to people across the country who are trying to use facilities like Community Forklift to really do work of community revitalization and economic development in distressed communities, of which we're seeing a lot more of that. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more going forward. So just recognizing that part of the function of Community Forklift is not just to collect waste and divert it from the landfill, which we certainly do, but the other piece is that a lot of what goes into the landfill are assets that are valuable. And so what we do is we take those assets and we divert them either back into the communities that need them or into sales, and we can turn those revenues into programs and jobs. So the model is a pretty effective model for doing so. So everything that gets thrown into landfill that doesn't get recovered is a lost opportunity. So part of the goal is to figure out ways how to really scale this in a different direction. So on one hand, we're very challenged to find a new site, partly also because industrial properties in the county and around the country have really low vacancy rates, which means that, and I think maybe Barbara was mentioning this earlier, but places like Amazon, any of the sort of burgeoning businesses post or during COVID and post-COVID are using industrial warehouse space in a way that they didn't before. So a lot of these type of operations are really squeezed. The leasing costs they're like 7 times what they used to be. So it's almost impossible for us to find an adequate rental space. So I'm talking to a lot of different people, looking at kind of more difficult and distressed properties of how we can refurbish those properties to make, a really positive contribution to the community, and by creating a different kind of space for a comprehensive kind of grassroots reuse enterprise. So that's where we are. I feel like, as we go forward, I think it would be really helpful over time to have the county be committed in its planning processes to reuse. So that's one thing in terms of the planning and the advising and the recommendations that could be very helpful for Community Forklift and for other like enterprises. So I think that's really important. And then I think at some point we may need more assistance, and it could either be, letters of support if Washington Gas wants us to move more quickly than we're capable of doing, or which I'm hoping that's not going to be the case, but also letters for when we're going to need some big chunks of funding to get moved and to likely purchase a property. So, stay tuned. We're working on it. I do think there are some really good opportunities to push this issue forward and be a leader. If we're able to create something larger, more comprehensive in the county could be really a national leader on this. There's a lot of other places that are working on these issues, and they're also very much connected to the zero waste movement. The zero waste movement really looks at a net zero waste. So it's reusing, recycling, repurposing as much as it makes sense. Like Austin, Texas, there's places that have been doing this and that have been learning and growing. So we've come a long way, and I think that the county's been committed and done a lot in the past, but I think we can do a lot more. So that's in a nutshell of over 2 minutes. So I'll just keep everybody posted.
Could I ask
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is actually directed toward Maryland. I was just wondering, the county's gotten a large amount of money through the ARPA program, and I know there's probably everybody looking to get a piece of that. Is there any way that there might be some money there to help Community Forklift?
I'm sorry, what program did you say?
The ARPA program. It's the federal program that's giving money to both the county and to the municipalities.
So is that through the grant, in way of grants, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I know Andrea and I've discussed, we've had a discussion about what it might look like with respect to community forklift remaining in the county. And, but yeah, I would say that, so as these grant opportunities present themselves, our whole department, actually, it's not just our division, but we're very much actively pursuing the grants and, seeing what the requirements are, but yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
So just also, I mean, on one level, we have to be looking anywhere where it's possible to relocate. So that's just a reality. On the other hand, I will tell you that the majority of the staff, everyone wants to stay in the county. So
Yeah.
I think that really there's sort of a leaning into trying to figure out the community that we've been a part of for all these years. We want to remain a part of that community. So I think there's an imperative to be in the county, and so far, and Andrea's helped, also connect with some of the other directors at the county level who can also help facilitate searching for a site like EDC and some others.
Mhm.
So Nancy, let me ask, there were discussions back 10 years ago doing the solid waste plan about such repurposing facilities, maybe the county doing one somewhere around Brown Station. I mean, the county hasn't done anything, but is there land there that community forklift could get more related to the county?
Yeah, so in my conversation with Andrea, we're discussing that there actually is property around the county, North County, Central County, South County. There is both public, there's both county land, there's state land, and there's federal land. So there are some opportunities to really be looking at creating sites where what you're talking about, Barbara, is sort of like a transfer station with people
Right.
would be able to bring, reusables to a site that would get sorted. So yes, that's definitely on the table, I think, in a more serious way for conversation. And frankly, Marilyn has talked about this some, and actually, Marilyn and I and Lee and a few other people have talked about, batted around different ideas, both, some of these alternative sites, but also the possibility of, Brown Station Road, there's a lot of property. Now that wouldn't be a sales site. It would be a collection site. So it definitely is an opportunity now to think about how to do this in a more, a more comprehensive way.
Mhm.
And I feel like the Department of Environment is extremely, helpful and receptive to working on this, which is really feels great.
Yeah, it seems like what you are doing has been such a leader in heading for zero waste and exactly where the county should be going.
Mhm.
And I've kind of felt that as they rolled out or I think many of us, as they rolled out the bulky trash, that they didn't do enough in pushing the repurposing. So maybe this could be a great way of kind of now really the county pushing repurposing.
Yeah, and I think there's a real strong interest in that. I mean, my sense of the bulky trash, even though I was kind of alarmed in the beginning, I mean, I think it was a stopgap measure to try to get some of this stuff off the streets.
Mhm.
There's just so much trash. There's so much dumping. I mean, and I can tell you, I see it every single day. So I think part of the idea was to create some kind of institutional response to get stuff off the streets. And I think the next part is, okay, so how do we then, get the stuff that's usable moved to in some systematic way that makes sense to a facility where that can happen. And it's true. It's like there's no place in the country that has figured this all out. It really is in some ways a real work in progress.
Right.
So
But maybe this could
that's
now
my
be-
story, and I'm sticking to it.
Mhm.
Well, we should definitely include this in the discussion next month with Andrea.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because, so let's just see if we can get quick responses from, or hold up your hand and I'll scroll through the pictures. If everybody feels if everybody puts up your hand, if you agree that SWAC should be helping community forklift as much as we can to try to get whatever worked out. Jonathan, are you on board or not?
I really don't know much about community forklift, but I've been reading a lot on zero waste initiative for Prince George's County, Maryland. If
Well,
if
Jonathan,
that's-
you better come visit.
Yeah,
If that-
you should
Come
go to
on
community
now.
forklift. It's
if that
incredible.
fits, if the community forklift fit in that program, then I'm on board.
Cool.
And does it fit in that program? For
Yeah.
the zero waste,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
is that, you're
Yes or
asking
no?
me? I'm sorry, was that directed to me? I'm sorry.
I said, is the community forklift program, does it fit in the program with the zero waste initiative for Prince George's County, Maryland?
Absolutely.
If that is the case, then I'm for it.
Yeah, I will say Prince George's County has been very fortunate to have community forklift. Because up until the time community forklift opened in Edmonston, the only really place that we had that we would that we could refer people to was the loading dock in Baltimore
Right.
City. So it's I would say to the zero waste goals of the county that having community forklift is detrimental. Mhm.
I would also just, if anybody on the group has not been to community forklift, I would be happy to give a tour. We do this a lot, so if you haven't been there, and I can give you a the nickel tour. It'll explain a lot of the stuff that, the materials we divert and what we do with, the resources. If anyone's interested, you can just come together as this little group, or I can take you individually. Just let me know. I'm happy to do
Yeah.
that.
And
Nancy, why don't you send out a couple of times when you would be willing to do it and see if we can get a bunch of people to come? Because I've been to community forklift a million times, but I'd love to go on such a tour again.
All right, I'll ask the staff to send out some stuff to the group for some ideas for a time in the morning, probably for a tour.
Mhm.
And it would be
Cool.
great if we did this before the meeting with Andrea next month, that we could. all-
Yeah, we can
Nice
probably
stuff.
do that. Mhm. Yep, okay,
Cool.
yeah, it'll
And-
be fun.
We should also learn more about, I was recently with some people who were saying that Anne Arundel County the county has a repurposing facility. Does anybody know anything about that?
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's from what I've heard the same thing. They don't have anything remotely close like community forklift. I mean, they have some nonprofits, as do we, like, Goodwill, Purple Heart. And like we have Melwood, and I think they have something similar to Melwood.
No, I thought that what I had heard was that the county actually runs one.
Now, what the county has, and I was just literally there a week ago, is at their landfill, they do have an area, it's quite a large area where people can come in. It's a convenience center basically, but it's like a one-stop shop. But I will tell you, like, so for bulky furniture, for instance, it's being landfilled. Yeah, it's not, it's just like in our county. Yeah. So,
Okay, so there's anything that we could sort of emulate and piggyback off to make better, or is theirs not worth following up on, Mary?
I mean, they do have a pretty nice setup with respect to their, I'm just gonna call it their convenience center area that's on the landfill or at the landfill before you get to the waste disposal site. I mean, I take it that if someone reached out to Anne Arundel County, I mean, they do have like a little center where they give tours and things. I mean, you could see what they have going on over there. I will tell you though, we are in Prince George's County, we are expanding and improving our Brown Station Road Convenience Center. Between this year and next, it should be finished by next year as part of our Area C project of the landfill. So ours will have a vast improvement and look similar to what Anne Arundel County has in place right now.
We have one now that you
No,
can.
we have one being designed right now
Okay,
to improve the Brown Station Road. Because like right now, residents have to come onto the landfill site for like their household hazardous waste and e-cycling, white goods, refrigerators, things like that. It's going to be a one-stop shop across the street on Brown Station Road where the existing convenience center is. It's just going to be expanded to be made much larger. So residents will not have to sit in line at the scale house to access the landfill. Everything for residents will be across the street.
okay, but I mean,
Yeah,
they.
and that's basically what Anne Arundel County has. Yep.
So Prince George's now has a convenience center where you can go in and say, I want a thrown out microwave. Where is it?
No, so at our current convenience center on Brown Station Road,
Okay.
we have recycling, rigid plastic recycling, scrap metal, yard trim.
But that's for people to drop off. Is it any?
Right, that's, yep.
Is there anything for people to pick? We're talking about people picking up.
Right, and I was explaining that what Anne Arundel County has.
Okay, so Prince George's doesn't have anything right now where people can pick up.
Right, and neither does
Yeah.
Anne Arundel County.
Oh, because I was told they do.
No, they don't.
Oh,
I was just there a week ago and they don't. Now, that's
oh,
not to say that they don't have a private sector, like nonprofit groups like Melwood or,
no, I was told it was the county has a pickup. County does pick up. Okay, I'll find out more about that.
yeah, please
Okay.
do, because I just met with their head of the landfill a week ago.
Okay,
And toward
Cool.
their site.
so excellent. If Prince George's is going to be doing that. I remember that was talked about. That was, I believe, in the last year's 10-year, in the last time 10-year solid waste plan 10 years ago.
Guys, it's 7:30.
Yeah, I've
Just-
got to really run too.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to go myself.
Well, guys, I think this was a very valuable meeting. I think we got a lot done. I thank everybody for coming out on such hectic, short, discombobulated notice. And thank you county people very much for taking your evening to come also.
Oh, you're welcome.
And let's be in email contact then about the meeting now only in 3 weeks with Andrea Kroons. Any last minute urgent comments from anyone before we disband?
Oh, thanks to staff. Appreciate it.
Oh, yep, you're welcome. And I know Kevin's had an extremely busy week and 2 days this week. The last 2 days have felt like a month to both of us. So I want to say thanks to Kevin, too, Nancy and Barbara.
Yeah, thank you, guys. That's much appreciated.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming out for this evening, and go have a hot fudge sundae now.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Great evening.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.